Helen from the Miller's family just got exposed for secretly being married and having a kid. She immediately went public to clear things up. No secret marriage, no child. Everyone knows I've been single all these years. I watched her cold face on TV, then looked at my son crying silently, feeling wronged and confused. My years-long obsession suddenly just let go. When she got home, I didn't rush out with my son like before. I wasn't excitedly waiting, feeling like a newlywed after a short separation. Instead, I opened the few messages I received again. A vasectomy certificate from 6 days ago and a sentence saying, "If you're willing, Jimmy will be my only child from now on." I replied with tears in my eyes, "Come get me, I don't want to stay with the Millers anymore." I looked over at Helen's handsome, indifferent face on the screen, feeling a strange sense of disbelief. She's known for being cold and incredibly deep, her true emotions never showing on her face. But it wasn't like the rumors suggested. This is my 4th year with her. We have a very cute son. He's just turned 3. But now Helen, my wife in name only, had just publicly announced in the coolest, most serious tone that there's no secret marriage and no son. Everyone knows I've been single all these years. She adjusted her glasses with gold frames on her high-bridged nose, those deep eyes radiating a chilling light, as if piercing through the camera, landing icily on my face, advising those with malicious intentions not to fantasize and disgrace themselves. After saying this, she abruptly stood up. Her bodyguards and personal assistant quickly cleared the crowd, escorting her to the car and leaving the scene. I stiffly turned off the TV. The living room went instantly dark. Only a floor lamp in the corner cast a faint, cool light. But right then I heard a soft sob. I whipped around to see my little son. His face was streaked with tears, feeling wronged, confused, standing there motionless. "Jimmy?" I quickly got up, hurried over, and held him. "Why aren't you asleep?" Sneaking downstairs. Jimmy buried his teary face into my chest. Pouting, he asked me through sobs, "Dad, why did Mom say she doesn't have a son? If she doesn't, then what is Jimmy?" In that moment, my heart twisted in agony. Helen was severe and reticent. Though she loved Jimmy, her time at home was short, and she rarely smiled. Jimmy admired her but was still somewhat afraid of her. That's why he was more sensitive than other kids. As tears poured down again, it seemed like the persistence I held on to for so many years suddenly vanished into nothing. I gently wiped the tears from his face. "Jimmy, do you want to leave here with Dad? Where would we go? Will we come back home?" I looked down and smiled. "No, we won't come back. This isn't our home." I looked into Jimmy's eyes and earnestly told him, "This is Helen's home. We've stayed here a long time and have troubled her enough. So now it's time to leave and go to our own home." Jimmy seemed to understand, nodding, and replied in his small voice, "Jimmy will go where Dad goes." "Good." I carried him back to his room, lovingly kissing his little cheeks. "Sleep now. Dad will stay here with you." Once Jimmy was asleep, my gaze fell on a picture frame on the bedside table. It was a family photo of the 3 of us, the only one we had. In the picture, Helen sat straight with her usual distant expression. I held 1-year-old Jimmy, smiling shyly and happily, leaning slightly towards Helen. But she wasn't leaning towards me. When Jimmy was fast asleep, I quietly got the photo frame and left the room. As I cut the photo apart, it suddenly hit me. The gap left in the picture by our bodies not touching was for today, making it easy to cut the photo apart along it. A week later, Helen came back from a business trip. It was already 10 p.m. when she got back. In the past, Jimmy and I would wait for her no matter how late. But tonight, Jimmy was already bathed and asleep. I wasn't in the main bedroom but went to a guest room on the 2nd floor. When I heard the familiar car engine outside, I was standing on the room's balcony, staring blankly at the message I received 6 days ago, the vasectomy certificate. Seeing it now still made my eyes sting and tear up. "Thomas, as long as you're willing, just nod. I'll treat Jimmy as my own. He'll be my only child, no, my only child." I stared at those lines for a long time until the screen automatically turned off, until Helen's footsteps were heard coming upstairs, until she walked down from the master bedroom on the 3rd floor, then stopped outside the guest room where I was. Then, a knock on the door. Thomas opened the door. I roughly wiped away the tears and hid my phone under the pillow. "I'm sleeping. Can we talk tomorrow?" I hadn't even finished when the door was already opened from the outside. I was stunned at first, but quickly realized this is Helen's home, Helen's property. Of course, she had full authority here. Why move to the guest room? She seemed a little displeased, her voice colder than usual. I slowly sat up, looking at her. After a long flight, her face still showed some fatigue. She pressed her fingers to her temples while talking, her voice a bit hoarse. I ignored the last trace of heartache and looked away. "I haven't felt well these days. Don't want to infect you. I don't mind, move back." After saying this, seeing that I was still motionless on the bed, she frowned slightly. "Thomas? I want to sleep, you should rest early too." But Helen didn't answer. She walked straight up to the bed, leaned over, and picked me up. "A week is long. Don't you miss me?" Speaking, she looked up to kiss me, but I turned my head to avoid it. She was surprised, displeasure quickly showing on her face. "Thomas, what's bugging you? We've been together for 4 years, and I've never turned her down. She has big needs, except when I'm not feeling well or she's traveling. We pretty much did it every night. Back then, if she was away for a week, I'd be up all night long. But I was happy, even content. Felt like she only liked me in bed. I was always scared she'd get mad. But deep down, I kinda wanted her to get upset. Because when she did, she was so different in bed. We had a fight once. I ran off to chill with Frank for a week. Helen actually came to pick me up in G-City. In the penthouse suite, she looked so mad, and it got to me. I liked her losing it because of me. But now I feel numb. My body and heart are like a dead end. I pulled away from her embrace. "Helen, let's break up," I said calmly, then laughed at myself. "We have a kid, and now I'm talking breakup. We didn't even have a marriage certificate, just an agreement." She looked surprised, then coldly asked, "Is this about clearing up the marriage rumor in the media?" I wanted to say it's not just that. Sure, I could have comforted myself if it were just that. But she denied our son's existence. I keep seeing his confused little face. I can't accept that. "Yes. You know it was just something for the media," Helen said coolly. "I'm busy. No time to appease you over small stuff," she added, looking serious. I tried to stay calm, but my hand shook at my side. My eyes stung, but I held back tears. "No need to comfort me. I mean it. We can void the agreement. I just want Jimmy." Helen's eyes hinted at disdain. "You're using Jimmy to make me reveal your and his identity? It's not happening. Not now or in the next few years," she cut in sharply. She looked down at me, like I didn't matter. I felt the room's chill seep into my bones, making me shiver. Before marriage, Frank gently warned me. But I was fearless. Who cared if Helen was as cold as stone? I believed I could win her over. But now, I want to be free, like water, not trapped under a roof my whole life. Think about it tonight. Move back when you're clear, Helen said, leaving the room, shutting the door harder than usual. It was out of character. I pulled up the blanket and closed my eyes. A few days and Grandma will be back from the south. She decided things between Helen and me. If she agrees, I can take Jimmy away. The Millers value lineage but care more about status. Helen's dad doesn't care much for Jimmy. He has a preferred son-in-law and I'm not it. Leaving with Jimmy would probably please them. The next day, Helen's dad surprisingly came by. He casually asked about Jimmy, but soon got to the point. "You know about Helen clearing up the marriage thing, right?" I nodded. He smiled, looking quite pleased. Didn't expect Helen to take this seriously. Rumors have been around for years, and she never addressed them. But right after hearing about Gary's divorce, she quickly set it straight with you. Helen's dad chuckled. Didn't think she'd deny Jimmy too. She's been fond of Gary since she was a teen. I sat there, buzzing. He was right. She never cleared up such rumors before. But this time was different. I knew about Gary, one of the favored son-in-law candidates. But he got married early on, and I never thought of him and Helen together. Apparently, she liked him for a long time. Helen agreed to be with me probably because the guy she liked got married. Thomas, Helen's dad said, patting my hand. You're smart. Your situation may not matter to you, but what about Jimmy? Should he live in the dark too? He left, and the house went silent. Flowers wilting, swept away by the wind, vanished. I took out my phone, reread messages. Whenever you want, Jimmy can be my only child, Jenny had written. Tears flowing, I replied. I didn't wait for Grandma to return. I had to leave the Millers. I started packing up my stuff with Jimmy, getting ready to leave the Millers' place. The maids seemed at a loss and quietly called Helen. By the time she got back, the driver of the rental car was loading my last suitcase. Jenny's flight was landing in 3 hours. She was going to take me and Jimmy away from here for good. I lost my mom when I was a kid, so I get it. Little boys with no moms tend to get bullied and have it rough. I watched as Helen got out of the car. Her face was icy cold, standing there against the dark blue night sky. Her eyes, as she looked at me, held no warmth. Jimmy seemed a little scared, clutching my neck tightly. I comforted him with a kiss and asked the maid to take him aside to play for a bit. Once Jimmy was out of sight, Helen approached me, her brows furrowed and a hint of annoyance in her eyes. Thomas, have I been too lenient with you these past few years? She asked. I chuckled softly and thanked her, genuinely. She had, after all, cared for us, except for not loving me or our son. You need to think this through. Without the Millers, you and Jimmy are nothing. And staying with the Millers, what are we then? What more do you want? Besides a title, what haven't I given you? I had her for 4 whole years. In those 4 years, she had no other man. We even had a lovely son. In this house, I was known as the son-in-law to the maids. But outside, merely a laughingstock to the elite women. My son, just an illegitimate child. I couldn't even call him by his full name in public. I don't want anything. I just want to leave the Millers, take my son, and go. Can I? Thomas, I'll say this once. Maybe my stubbornness really ticked her off. Her tone had never been this harsh. Now, move your and your son's things back upstairs. I'll pretend nothing happened. And if I say no? She stared at me steadily. Step outside that door, and there's no coming back. As soon as she finished, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and the tension in her brow seemed to ease a bit. She stepped aside to answer, her tone softening. Don't worry, I'm coming. Send me the address. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Helen hung up and headed to her car. After a couple of steps, she seemed to remember me. Turning back, she ordered the maids, put their stuff back. I want everything neat before I return tonight. With that, she glanced at me again. You're moving back to the master bedroom tonight. I don't want you in the guest room. I didn't say no, so she assumed I'd comply. Without hanging around, she hopped in the car and drove away. The staff smiled at me. Sir, you go inside, we'll handle the packing. They started unloading my suitcases, but I stopped them. No need, we're leaving right now. Sir? When Helen returns, please tell her. I lowered my gaze, hiding my tears. Just as she said, after this, Jimmy and I won't step foot in this place again. But you know Helen's temper. She's adamant. If you really go, what then? And the young master, he's a Millers after all, they said, genuinely concerned. Over the years, we had gotten along quite well. I had always been easygoing and kind. So they truly treated me with respect. I know how firm she is, I reassured them, smiling. That's why I need to go. This is the best shot I have. With her angry words about leaving and her eagerness to meet someone, I had the advantage now. Otherwise, getting Jimmy out smoothly would be near impossible. Helen, after all, is powerful, only letting go when she chooses. You worry because you care, and I appreciate that. No grudge lasts overnight. Could you and Helen maybe talk it through? We can all see Helen cares about you and the young master. Every time she's back from a trip, the first thing she asks is where you are. Couldn't help but chuckle. She's proud and self-assured, so strong-willed. She's driven by desire but doesn't indulge in men. In fact, she's quite finicky about them. That's why, all these years, she's only had me, clean and clear, knowing my background. Her first question when she comes home is about me, but it's only to satisfy her desires, not affection. "Thank you for your kindness," I said, "but all that isn't important to me anymore." Without saying more, I picked up my son. "Take care, everyone." As darkness settled, I didn't hesitate, heading toward the car swiftly. Seeing my determination, no one stopped or persuaded me anymore. As I climbed in, Jimmy whispered, "Dad, won't I have a mom anymore?" I kissed his soft cheek. "Helen isn't your mom. But don't worry. One day, you'll have a mom who truly adores you." The engine roared to life. Jimmy pressed his face against the window, watching outside. Born here, sheltered because of who he was, those walls held so many memories, joys and sorrows. "Jimmy, are you going to miss it?" I asked softly, sadness flooding my heart. Jimmy shook his head. "I was just thinking, I can't take my swing and pony with me. But there will be new swings and ponies in the future." Jimmy jumped into my arms. "Mom doesn't want me, I don't want her either. No, it's Aunt, not Mom." I hugged him tight and laughed. "That's right, it's Aunt, not Mom." I quietly brushed away the tear on my lashes. The huge estate slowly disappeared behind the car. Soon it was completely out of sight. Gary stepped out in clean clothes, still looking shaken. He stayed close to Helen, not daring to leave her side. "It's okay now, those people are gone. They won't bother you anymore," Helen gently reassured him, seeing his pale face. But Gary still clutched her sleeve. "Helen, they'll come back. There were so many people here tonight. They still dared to come and humiliate me." Gary started to sob. "They hate me, they won't let me go." He gripped her sleeve so tightly, it deformed the fabric, and a delicate brooch fell onto the spilled wine on the floor. Helen frowned suddenly. She pushed Gary's hand away and bent down to pick it up. But Gary grabbed her first. "It's dirty now, it's not that valuable. I'll buy you a new one." Helen hesitated for a couple of seconds, but then pushed his hand away again. She picked up the dirty brooch, wrapped it in a clean tissue, and handed it to her assistant. "Get it cleaned up." Gary, his eyes filled with tears, looked dazed for a moment. But then he smiled, a bittersweet smile. "You treasure it. Was it given to you by someone important? That Thomas guy?" Helen didn't answer, just checked her watch. It was already late, time to go home. "I'll have the driver take you home to rest." "Helen, it's been years. Can't we hang out tonight? Our friends are rarely all together." Gary's words were echoed by others. "Yeah, Helen, we're all here tonight. Let's enjoy ourselves." Helen didn't answer. She suddenly thought of Thomas. They had been having a tiff and living apart lately. 4 years together, and their son was already 3. She only now found out he had such a stubborn side. It was hard to believe, with the usual peace and stability of their family. Her once perfect partner was acting up. It was affecting her mood. Even at work, she got distracted and made a tiny mistake. Helen thought this can't go on. She had been too indulgent with Thomas these past years. It had given him the nerve to secretly tip off the media, trying to force her to announce his and Jimmy's relationship. She decided to give him the cold shoulder, let him think it over. About how daring and reckless he had been. Gary pulled her down to sit with him. Their friends eagerly poured drinks. The atmosphere warmed up. Helen wasn't in a great mood tonight, but she drank with everyone. After a few rounds, she felt a bit tipsy. Gary handed her some warm honey water. "Got a headache? Drink some, you'll feel better." She looked at the man in front of her. Time had shaped him into something like a ripe cherry on the branch. More alluring than his youthful innocence. But looking at Gary like this, she felt no old feelings return. Instead, her blurred vision showed another face. Someone who always seemed to ripple her orderly life. Helen pushed her chair back and stood up. "It's too late. I have a meeting tomorrow. You all continue. I'll host next time." This late, you should stay over. We already prepared a room. Helen reached for her coat. I don't like staying out. Over the years, no matter how late, she would come home. If she had to stay elsewhere, she chose the nearest place. Gary bit his lip, looking like he was holding back tears. Helen, do you just not want to be around me? No, don't overthink it. You cleared up those rumors before. I was really happy. But now, it seems like you don't mind him so much. Helen looked at him. I just don't like people discussing my family and personal life. So, do you like him a little? Helen's voice turned cold. Do you think I'm someone to get lost in romantic relationships? Her marriage and feelings were planned out just like her life and career, although there'd been some surprises and changes. She had a man she never thought she'd end up with. She quickly adjusted all her rhythms. In her world, everything had to yield to her career, including her man and child. Even if she'd married Gary, it would be the same. But Helen pressed her aching temples. She sidestepped Gary and left the room. Recently, her emotions had been too swayed by Thomas. Before him, she had only her work, no room for romance. The car pulled up at the gates. Still, only servants came to meet her. Helen held back from asking where Thomas was. Handing her coat over, she went straight upstairs. She first went to the second-floor guest room. Pushed the door open, but he wasn't there. Helen's heart eased, her anger gone. Seemed he listened and moved back to the master bedroom. If he was good, she'd reward him. Maybe she'd change the agreement to an official marriage certificate. Helen headed up to the third floor. The master bedroom door was shut tight. In a good mood, she went over and pushed it open. As the door opened, the sensor lights turned on. The large bed was tidy and empty. Helen stood in the doorway, her face growing dark and cold. A few seconds later, she went to the kids' room. Jimmy's little form wasn't in the small bed either. Helen walked slowly into her son's room. Everything seemed the same, but something was missing from the bedside table. She remembered there was a photo there, but now the frame was gone. Helen pulled open the drawer. She immediately saw a half photo face down. Obviously, someone had cut it. She had a feeling about what this meant and picked it up. Sure enough, a photo that once had 3 people. Now only she remained. He and Jimmy were cut out. Helen clutched the photo, her temple pulsing. After a while, she turned and strode out of the room. Since he chose to leave, he can't blame her now. If he wanted to come back, opening this door would now be nearly impossible. It was late. Jimmy was already sweetly asleep. The hotel was owned by the Lin family. The penthouse suite where Jenny used to stay had been empty these years, but was cleaned daily and fresh flowers replaced. When the doorbell rang, I was instantly awake. I knew Jenny had arrived but felt nervous. We hadn't seen each other in 4 years. She was across the ocean, and I was in the deep quarters of the Millers. I never expected she would do something so surprising when Helen publicly denied being married or having kids. You know, Jenny is the Lin family's only child and their sole heir. My heart was heavy with sadness. The moment I opened the door, tears sprang uncontrollably to my eyes. Jenny stood outside looking exhausted, with a coat draped over her arm. Dressed in a dark outfit, her figure stood tall and slender. After 4 years, she was thinner, her vibe completely different. I choked out her name, Jenny, but she stepped forward and hugged me tightly. Thomas, she choked, lips slightly parted. Her hold on me tightened until I could barely breathe. Then she suddenly let go. She held my face and gently wiped away my tears. "'Kay, no more crying. I'm here. It's all right now. Why did you have that surgery? What about your uncle and aunt?" I couldn't help my voice from quivering again. Jenny shut the door and leaned casually against it, watching me. "Only worried about them? Of course. I'm more worried about you," I said, looking at her thin face, feeling a sting in my heart. Even minor surgery can carry risks. She's the only child, not yet married or with kids. What if something happened? Worried about what? Jenny caught my hand, her gaze suddenly landing on my ring finger. In my memory, her eyes always carried a playful smile, but now they were overshadowed. I realized then that I hadn't removed my wedding ring. After wearing it for 4 years, it felt so natural I forgot to take it off. Worried something would happen to me? Or worried I wouldn't be able to have kids? She smirked, almost teasingly, but her grip on my hand steadily tightened, trembling. Jenny? I was surprised. The Jenny I remembered wasn't like this. Thomas, don't call me that. I don't want to be your sister. She held my hand to her face. You know, I never wanted to be your sister. We weren't actually related by blood, just connected through family ties before my father passed away. Back when both families still communicated often. Then father died, dad got sick, and we fell on hard times. Grandma took me in, raising me, and we lost touch with the Lin family. But Jenny kept writing to me and flew to see me whenever she could until she was sent abroad to study. Aunt hinted that the Lin family had arranged a suitable fiancé for her. By then, I was a young adult and knew better than to cling to Jenny like a child. I only had a vague crush on Jenny back then and couldn't handle the pressure from the adults, so I cut off all contact with her without hesitation. Later, my dad and grandma passed away. Grandma used her lifelong kindness to entrust me to this family. Living with the Millers during those years, in the bloom of adolescence, it was natural I fell for the steady and handsome Helen. Grandma was deeply emotional and arranged everything for Helen and me upon my graduation. I still remember when she nodded. My heart pounded like a drum, and my face turned crimson. 4 years have passed in a blink. Everything comes full circle. Trying to hold on to something not meant for you leads nowhere. When my tears fell again, Jenny suddenly lifted her head, kissing away my tears. Thomas, let's get married. From now on, Jimmy will be my only child. Whatever Helen doesn't recognize or want, Jenny, do. I looked into her eyes, sparkling like molten glass, making my face warm. My heart beat rapidly, yet I felt strangely at peace. Distant memories of youth surged back, falling asleep on her back countless times, jumping into her arms with eyes closed, handing her my hand without worry, begging only for her comfort. Finally, on a stormy night, she stood outside Grandma's yard all night, yet my pride wouldn't let me open the door to see her. Jenny, give me some time, please, at least until I can sort things out with Grandma. After all, Jimmy has the Miller's blood. If I seek full custody of Jimmy, I'll need Grandma's permission. Okay, no matter how long, I can wait. There were media photos of Helen dining privately, captured by paparazzi showing Gary by her side, caught mid-laughter and seemingly leaning toward her. The composition and lighting made them appear like a couple, sparking surprise online. Especially as Helen had earlier firmly denied rumors. Now these pictures told a different story, causing quite a stir. My phone buzzed with messages and calls, but I didn't respond to or answer any. After leaving Jimmy's kindergarten, I went to the mall. Jenny had given both me and Jimmy some pretty expensive gifts. I figured I should return the favor. Just as I was about to enter a high-end store, I ran into Lucas and a few of his pals. I just nodded and tried to walk past them into the store. But Lucas stopped me, Thomas. He seemed a bit smug, unlike when he held his tongue in front of Helen. What's up? Seen the news? Lucas lifted his chin, unable to hide his smirk. Don't you think my sister and Gary make a great pair? I nodded, they do. Lucas was taken aback. Thomas? Back when he used to make fun of me behind Helen's back, I'd cry silently in frustration. In his mind, I should be acting the same now. Anything else? Aren't you crazy? If my sister and Gary get back together, do you think there's still a place for you in the Millers? Aren't you jealous? I looked at Lucas calmly. There never was a place for me and Jimmy with the Millers, right? Well, at least you know your place. Lucas said, but his expression wasn't as pleased as before. I ignored him and went into the store. I've been here a few times and know one of the salesgirls. I wanted to check out brooches, and she immediately showed me some new styles. They were the kind I used to buy for Helen. Seeing the brooches made my mind wander for a moment. She wore the tie and brooch I bought her that day. When she so heartlessly denied our son's existence, didn't she feel any regret? But I quickly shook off that thought. Let me see these. Jenny's taste is completely different from Helen's. I picked two with a strong design and had them wrapped up. Only after paying did I realize the card I used was a supplementary card Helen had given me for personal spending. For years, and she'd intertwined herself into every part of my life. But now, if I'm cutting ties, I need to make it clean. After some hassle, I refunded the transaction and paid again with another card, then unlinked all the cards. On my way out, Helen called. I hesitated but answered. Bought something and returned it? She got straight to the point. Used the wrong card, switched it, I replied honestly. There was a brief silence on the other end. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter. That card was for you to use. Not anymore. Thomas, how long are you going to keep this up with me? I gave a weak smile. I'm not holding anything against you. Helen, I've left the Millers. I'm done with it. Are you sure? Yes. The call ended abruptly. I stood there for a moment, then blocked and deleted all her contact info. Back at the hotel, I bathed Jimmy and put him to sleep. Then I grabbed the gifts for Jenny. Her door was slightly ajar, and just as I was about to knock, I overheard her talking softly inside. Dr. Chun, when will things get better? Will I always have a psychological barrier to intimacy? I was stunned, and the bag in my hand slipped to the floor. Jenny soon called out, Thomas, you heard everything? Jenny, I checked. That kind of surgery shouldn't have such effects. Jenny was calm. Everything has exceptions. Maybe I'm just unlucky. Tears rolled down my face. What now? What did the doctor say? No answers yet. Just said I should try with someone I trust. My eyes lowered as I pressed my lips tightly. Jenny seemed unbothered. Don't think too much. It's not a big deal. How can you say that? It's huge. I've lived without a partner before. I can manage. But she suddenly stepped closer. Thomas, if you're worried about your future happiness, I'd be glad. If it's anything else, I don't care. You know I've always been this way, cold, selfish. Except for you, nothing else matters to me. She gently touched my face. Don't pity me. Jenny finished speaking, put on a coat, and left, saying she needed a break. Stay with Jimmy. I'll be back soon. After she left, I sat on the sofa, my mind in turmoil. If what Jenny said on the phone is true, and she might always struggle with intimacy, I bit my lip, making up my mind. Then I'll marry her. I can't bear to see her slighted or rejected by others. I went to see Grandma. Since you've decided, I won't make it hard on you, she said. It wouldn't be right to trouble you, the grandchild of a benefactor, in the end. Helen messed up and hurt you and Jimmy. Grandma shook her head, tears in her eyes. She's a very good elder. It's a shame we're not meant to be. Your kindness has far exceeded any debt to my grandmother, I said, swallowing my sadness. Thank you so much for taking care of me all these years. I won't be able to look after you anymore. Please take care. Remember to bring Jimmy to visit me. I will. And if you run into trouble, let me know. After all, Jimmy is part of the Millers. We won't ignore that. I will, Grandma. Go on. Grandma waved, and someone escorted me out. In the car leaving the Millers' estate, I passed by Helen's car. Her car suddenly came to a screeching halt, and she got out. But I didn't ask the driver to stop. We didn't have any legal marriage ties. Breaking up completely was really simple. We didn't even need to see each other or say a word. In the late autumn, Helen stood there in just a thin shirt and pants. She seemed to be watching my car leave, standing for a very long time. Jenny wasn't waiting for me at the hotel lobby this time. I went upstairs, returned to the room. But there was no sign of Jimmy either. I was about to knock and ask Jenny. Suddenly, her door swung open from inside. Then, my wrist was grabbed tightly, and I was pulled inside. Jenny? Where's Jimmy? Where'd he go? Why are you so hot? I hesitantly tried to touch her forehead. But Jenny pressed me down onto the big bed. Her brow was full of fine sweat, but her eyes were fiery red. Don't worry, Jimmy is at my house. Thomas, I took some calming meds today. Her scorching forehead rubbed against my cheek and neck. It felt almost as hot as volcanic lava. It's kind of reacting. I'm feeling really uncomfortable, Thomas. Jenny's dry, burning lips found mine and instantly pressed tight, yet awkwardly, not knowing how to go further. Maybe the meds were kicking in hard. Sweat seeped layer by layer from her forehead. Jenny, I barely called her name. She took advantage and kissed me deeper. My wet fingers were pinned on the bed by her grip. She kept calling my name, over and over. Finally, I suddenly tasted something salty. Not sure if it was her sweat or my own tears. Thomas. Jenny suddenly stopped and just stared at me. Her eyes were intensely red. Her pupils reflected a tiny me. You can yell at me or hit me, anything, she said hoarsely, trying to get off me. My tense body slowly relaxed overall. Under her gaze, I closed my eyes. I reached my hand up, hooked her neck. Jenny. I called her like when we were kids. She was deeply moved, lowered her head and kissed me hard. Jenny, don't be scared. Let me handle it. Okay? The six-pointed star on the sleeve of my black shirt gleamed dimly. That light traced down from the corner of my eye, past my collarbone, chest, flat belly, and finally stopped. Thomas, Jenny murmured. Her eyes were burning, as if on fire, almost like a vast sea swallowing us both. Flashes of white light blinked before my eyes. Thomas, she looked up at me. How many calming teacups did you drink exactly? Jenny replied a bit sheepishly. Just one. Actually, she didn't take any meds. She just took a few cold showers to give herself a fever. But this secret, she wouldn't let anyone know. I don't believe it. No more messing with meds. I'd rather you take it slow. Thomas, I think the meds effect hasn't worn off yet. No more. But I'm really uncomfortable. You won't let me take meds in the future, I'll definitely fail again. So, let me get enough this time. My heart softened, and I let her in. Thomas, does the med make you feel good? I answered vaguely, nodding randomly. Does it feel better than her? Yeah. I felt like I was floating on clouds, my mind blank. I think so too, she's almost 30. Women near 30 can't keep up. Unlike me. Jenny suddenly didn't finish her sentence, and I was too distracted to ask. Thomas, at the height of it, Jenny whispered in my ear, let's get the certificate tomorrow. First thing in the morning, okay? I didn't intend to agree that fast, but when I didn't, Jenny would withdraw. In the end, I only nodded with a choked voice. Okay. First thing in the morning we'll get the certificate. Helen heard about this from Lucas. She didn't sleep all night at the old house, only closed her eyes at dawn. She was more dejected than ever before. She didn't expect that Thomas really planned to take Jimmy away. He even bypassed her, went directly to Grandma. And Grandma actually agreed, letting him take full custody of Jimmy. What surprised her more? The media leak wasn't Thomas. Photos of Jimmy at the Millers could be taken by more than just Thomas. Her father could have taken them too. At that time, she was so disappointed in him that she publicly refuted the claims, even warned him harshly, until she accidentally overheard her father proudly revealing this secret to Lucas. Only then did she realize that she could make such huge mistakes too. Helen had to admit. In that moment, she did feel a little flustered, although it was only a brief moment. Although she quickly adjusted her mindset. She knew Thomas. He was a straightforward, non-grudging, generous person. So she knew as long as she went to him, sweet-talked a bit, he would come back to her eventually. After all, he loved her so much, cared so much about her. But she never expected. Lucas would rush in early morning to tell her that Thomas got the certificate with someone else today. That woman named Jenny couldn't wait to announce it to the world. Even shamelessly posted on her social media about being married with kids. Sis, what's going on? It's fake, right? I think it's fake, photoshopped. How could Jenny marry my brother-in-law? She's the only daughter of the Lin family. Plus, that day I saw him buying stuff for you at the mall. How could he marry someone else so suddenly? Helen suddenly looked up. What day was that? Lucas was anxious, stomping his foot. A few days ago, I forgot the exact day. Oh right, it should be around the time you were photographed with Gary. Helen took out her phone, scrolled through messages from that day. She remembered. She even called Thomas to ask what he bought and returned. Helen felt her heart sinking. If Thomas bought something for her, he wouldn't return it and pay again. There's only one reason he'd do that. The gift wasn't for her. It was probably for this Jenny. Give me the phone. She reached over and took Lucas' phone, pulling up a few photos of Jenny. Sure enough, in one picture, Jenny was holding a red marriage certificate, showing a bit of her arm. Helen noticed a star-shaped brooch on the woman's shirt cuff, her favorite brand, but not her style. Helen put down the phone and, unusually, lit a cigarette. Hey sis, are those photos fake? Lucas asked cautiously. He thought he might be going crazy. Before, he always felt Thomas didn't deserve his sister and was making her settle. But now that Thomas had really left the Millers, it didn't feel good. Looking back, no matter how cold he was to Thomas never seemed to hold a grudge. He was actually a good guy. Even Dad had to admit sometimes, grudgingly saying Thomas knew how to win people over, and even the family staff sided with him. You should go back. I want to be alone for a bit. Lucas left quietly, not daring to stay. Feeling stifled, Helen took her cigarette pack and went to the backyard garden. A few servants were talking to the gardener. Oh, be careful with these flowers. They're the favorite of our dear son-in-law. Yes, every time he comes back, he checks on them and waters them. Speaking of the son-in-law, do you think he's having a spat with Helen? She's always making things bigger than they need to be. Even if I were him, I'd be upset. Who knows? I've never met someone as nice as our son-in-law, no pretense at all. The cigarette burned down, scalding her fingertip. Helen flinched, dropping the ash, which was quickly blown away by the wind. The voices faded. She looked at the wilting flowers in the garden, thinking that winter was coming. The flowers wouldn't bloom until next year, but would those who left ever return? She suddenly felt she had lost the courage even to ask. 5 years into marriage to Jenny, I finally convinced her to try for another baby. The Lynn family was in an uproar about her not wanting kids, with tears shed by her mother. Auntie would cry on my shoulder, lamenting they'd have never broken us up if they'd known things would end like this. After much effort, their daughter got married only to have a child and then insisted on treating another's son as her own. Her heart twisted with pain. I felt awkward, unsure how to console her. Jenny said to pay her no mind, calling her superficial for splitting us up. If you're desperate to have a baby, go ahead. Once I wasn't having just to follow you. Motherhood doesn't become a woman. If it's meant to be, let it be. Besides, I already have Jimmy, and he's my son, and I'll give him everything from the Lynn family one day. I couldn't help but laugh. Isn't that just gifting the Millers? Jenny lay on the bed with a grin. Who got the better deal knows it best. It's not me who's alone now. But could you please give me a baby again? Jenny? Just agree. No, I promised both to you and Jimmy. There's only him. I gently coaxed, but Jimmy wants a brother or sister. Honey, think about it. When we're gone, if he's lonely, what then? Jenny wavered, yielding to my pleas. She agreed, went for surgery again, and soon enough we had a baby girl who looked just like Jenny and was strikingly beautiful. Jenny adored her daughter but still loved Jimmy more. The Lynn family couldn't have been happier. The day after the birth, Jenny was back on the surgical table. Later, when we were together, Jenny was pensive, worried about whether her health would hold post-surgery. I teased about having calming tea. Why not try a cup of calming tea? She coughed. I'll give it a try first. I chuckled, collapsing onto the bed. Jenny's weight landed on me. Thomas, don't laugh if I can't later. I kissed her gently. Okay, I won't laugh. Holding my face, she said sincerely, Thomas, I do love you. I know, honey. And you? I nibbled her playfully. I love you very much too. Once upon a time, long ago and far in the future.